Hello, and welcome to another episode of Do Something. Today, my guest is a best-selling and award-winning author of Microactivism: How You Can Make a Difference in the World Without a Bullhorn. She has worked for over 30 years as a political consultant and life coach. She's had a podcast in the past. She now leads workshops, is a public speaker, and she created the Activist Archetype Quiz. So now we're going to talk to the amazing Omkari Williams, who will tell us all about these things. Hello, Omkari. It is such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here, and I love the name of your
Well,
podcast.
thank you. Thank you. We try, right? We try everything to get people involved. I feel like they're so committed to putting their head down and waiting for this to pass. I understand the reluctance, but I also don't believe in ignoring the problem. I try and present solutions, right? You are a very exciting person to talk to because you can help people diagnose their level of comfort and their areas of interest and how those things can translate into activism of any sort, right? We're talking either social justice or political activism. Either way,
Absolutely.
any just be involved. Do something, right? Do something.
Something. I really do appreciate the way you're framing it because the thing I think is important is that people understand that there isn't one way of being an activist, that
Correct.
everyone has something they can bring to the party,
Hmm.
and that we often get sort of stuck in this idea of what an activist looks like. And my challenge to everyone is, what if an activist looks like you, right? What if
Yes.
that
Hmm.
is what an activist looks like? And my other challenge to people is to find the thing that they really care about.
Yeah.
Because people so often feel like, oh, I have to be involved in this thing or in this thing in this way. And my feeling is there are 8 billion people on the planet. If each of us did the thing we really cared about, we would cover everything.
And what you said is really important. It doesn't have to be everything because
Not at
there's
all.
it, you can't. First of all, it's
It's
just
literally impossible.
literally impossible. Your brain will explode. Narrowing down the thing that you are passionate about is maybe the biggest challenge in becoming an
Yeah.
activist, right?
I think it is actually. I think because I think there's a lot of guilt associated with letting other things go to the side,
Hmm.
which is why I remind you there are other people doing that work.
Yeah,
They are picking up the slack for you, and you are picking up the slack for them.
yeah,
So, for some people, going out and marching is the thing. For other people, it is not. And
yeah.
we need both kinds of people.
Activism is like a huge river, and there are all of these boats on the river, and they're all going in the same direction. It's the river of justice, and every boat is about a different issue. And what if instead of telling people, come onto our boat and help, it's like, why don't you cheer on the other boat? And we're all going in the same direction and we'll help each other get there. You do your thing and I'll do my thing, and we're all heading in the same direction. In the idea of choosing the issue that we want to do, we can't diminish or belittle someone else's choice.
No,
You
not at
know,
all.
if
Yeah.
let's cheer
Yeah.
each other on instead of cutting each other down.
And also, people have to be met where they are. I have a
Yes.
dear friend who, her first act of real consistent activism was getting a ban on leaf blowers in her town because they're noisy and they're polluting. And she'd had it, and it took her 10 years of work with a small group of other people,
Mhm.
and they got ordinances in place that restricted the use of leaf blowers. So that's
Yeah.
success.
It is remarkable what one person can do. I think the mistake people make is not what can one person do, is but how long is it going to take? You have to persist. You have to do it
You
over the
have to.
long term.
I often think about how if we treated learning to walk the way we treat so many other things, none of us would be walking. Because, like
Yeah.
the third time you fell over, you'd be like,
Like, ah, forget
forget
about
it,
it.
forget it.
Oh
But
my God,
that's
that's
not what we do. We just keep going and you
right.
keep going until you accomplish the thing. And, the people who led the civil rights movement, they were not delusional. They did not think they were going to solve all the problems in their lifetime. They thought they were going to advance the issue.
Right.
And that's
And
how
that's
we
it.
have to think about it. They did.
Advancing the issue, not making change, but advancing it towards change. And mind you, the civil rights activists knew going in that they were in mortal danger.
Yeah, but even in the civil rights movement, not everybody was on the front lines.
Right.
There were a lot of people way behind the scenes that we never saw, and I think those people need to be honored as well.
And when we say way behind the lines, these are people that helped transport people back and forth. These are people who brought sandwiches to the meetings. These are
Exactly.
people who distributed flyers or who did the printing of the flyers. I mean, when you break down each action and the
Yes,
number of steps that have to happen, all of those are opportunities for action, for
exactly.
activism,
That
right?
is exactly right.
Yeah.
There is no area of your life that politics doesn't touch. So, as the saying goes, you may not do politics, but politics does you. Mhm.
Everything is politics. Everything.
Ultimately, every single thing
Even
is.
social issues are politics.
Absolutely. You don't have to get into politics to
Correct.
do the work that needs to be done. You can do a literacy program for adults in your area. You can read to children at the library. You
Hmm.
can start a community garden. I mean,
Yes.
there's so many things.
Everybody's busy doing things that they're passionate about, doing their videos, becoming influencers, having fun, living life. And I can't say I blame them because as an activist, I spend too much time doing this. My balance is off in the opposite direction.
I actually think that we have been taught to be very self-involved. If you
Hmm.
think about over the last 30, 40 years, the explosion of self-help works in publishing
Hmm.
and it's always self-help. It's not about community help. It's always about
Yes.
the individual. So I don't think that I think that people are more self-involved because we've been sort of pushed in that direction. But
Right.
I also think that when you invite people into a community, when you invite people into a space where they can participate and they are not only supporting someone else, but being supported, they really appreciate that. We are communal animals by nature, and getting back to more of those spaces feels incredibly nourishing for most people.
I want you to talk a little bit about your quiz. The tell us about that because I think a lot of people want to tailor, at least find a way to match up with something that they can commit to long term.
Yes. So my quiz basically came out of my recognition that not everyone is meant to stand on a stage with a bullhorn and speak to 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people. That's not for everyone. But I really know that everyone has an opportunity to participate. So I started thinking about what are the types of people that participate and how can they do that. And I sort of drew back on my time as an actor and how film sets are set up. And I came up with four categories. You have your headliner, who is the person, the star of the event. You have your producer who's overseeing the whole thing. So that's someone who really loves looking at the big picture.
Mhm.
You have your organizer, and to me, that's like the person in charge of craft services, which is food.
Mhm.
Um, and then you have your indispensable, which is like the background actors on a film.
Yes.
If you take any of those pieces away, the whole thing falls apart.
Mhm.
You need all of those people. And the quiz is designed to really get people to say, oh, this is how I can participate.
There are there are two types of people, those that get ideas and are self-motivated, and those that say, just point me in the right direction and tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And
But you know what? So you can be both of those people in different circumstances. There are places where I get ideas and I'm like, yeah, this is what we should do. And then there are other places where I'm like, oh, no, no, you just tell me what to
Yeah,
do and
yeah.
I
Where do
will
I
do
sit?
it.
What do I write? Yeah.
Exactly. There's so much joy in it when you are not fighting your own nature and you are making a contribution.
Right. And that is such a good segue to what I was about to say, because a lot of people go, well, I want to do something important. It's all important. It's if you
Yes,
think of yourself as a grain of sand and you look at a beach, one single grain of sand is nothing. But when one single grain of sand meets up with a trillion other little grains of sand, we have a
exactly.
beach.
Each of us brings something to everything we do that only we can bring to it. We
Hmm.
each have a contribution to make that no one else can make in the way we make it. And I
Yes.
just think that's really important and really valuable.
Well, why don't you leave us with what people can actually do?
Start saying hello to your neighbors. Get to know the people who live in your community because community is sort of the basis for everything that is going to come out after that. And just starting to reconnect with humans because we've kind of gotten a bit distant. I'm saying lean into the human interaction.
Yeah,
The
this is
next
such a
thing I think people should start protecting books. Buy banned books, protect the ones you have. Think of it as we may need to repopulate our libraries after what's happening right now. So we want stories about Indigenous people and Black people and Latinos, and we want women's history. We want all of those stories. So start buying, reading, and protecting those books. And then for those of you who are artistic, which is not me, unfortunately, you can make and distribute zines in your community that are about
What's a
things you.
zine?
So
I'm
a
sorry.
zine is those tiny little magazines that you see that.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, they're so clever. They just fold out and they tell a story, but they're so clever. And you can make one and reproduce it and hand them out in your neighborhood. And again, it's, a community building thing.
I
And it's
love this
really,
idea. Oh
they're
my
so
goodness.
much fun to do. And you can do zines with kids. Kids love doing zines. The most important thing, no matter what your activist work is
Mhm.
do it with joy. Joy is the essential element that will keep you going even when things are hard. The hope and possibilities that you're fighting for are so important. Don't lose connection to those things.
Omkari, you are like fresh water in the desert. I am so pleased to have met you. Thank you for being my guest, and all of you, thank you so much for sitting visiting with us for this interview. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.